Welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to summarize Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies is a novel written by William Golding, first published in 1954. The book tells the story of a group of British boys who are stranded on a deserted island and must fend for themselves. The plot revolves around the decline of the group from a civilized society into savagery and violence, as the boys struggle to maintain order and find a way to survive on the island. The story begins with the crash of a military aircraft carrying the boys, who are on their way back to England from a boarding school. The crash leaves the boys stranded on the island with no adults or supplies, forcing them to rely on their own instincts and resources to survive. The group is initially led by Ralph, a charismatic and level-headed boy who is elected as the leader. He tries to establish order and organization among the boys, and encourages them to work together to build shelters, gather food, and signal for rescue. However, as time goes on, the boys' behavior becomes more savage and violent, as they are influenced by their inner desires and fears. Jack, the leader of a choir, becomes increasingly aggressive and power-hungry, and eventually challenges Ralph's leadership, leading to the formation of two opposing factions on the island. Jack's followers, who are attracted to his charisma and promise of power, become more savage and brutal, and engage in hunting and killing pigs for food. Meanwhile, a third character named Piggy emerges as a symbol of intelligence and reason. He provides the group with much-needed advice and support, but is constantly ridiculed and bullied by the other boys. The situation on the island reaches a breaking point when Simon, a quiet and introspective boy, discovers the truth about the beast that the other boys believe is responsible for their fears. He is killed by the other boys in a violent frenzy, further perpetuating the decline of order and civilization on the island. As the conflict between Ralph and Jack intensifies, the island becomes a dangerous place, with the boys turning on each other in acts of violence and cruelty. The situation comes to a head when a naval officer arrives to rescue the boys, but finds that they have descended into savagery and can no longer distinguish between right and wrong. The book ends with the officer taking the boys away, leaving the island behind, symbolizing the end of their innocence and the loss of their humanity. Lord of the Flies is a classic novel that explores the human condition and the consequences of unbridled power and desire. Through the story of the boys on the island, Golding examines the inherent evil in human nature and the capacity for violence and destruction when societal norms and constraints are removed. The novel remains one of the most widely read and discussed works of modern literature, and continues to be relevant and thought-provoking to this day. Lord of the Flies is often interpreted as a political allegory, as the characters and events in the novel can be seen to represent various aspects of society and the human condition. For example, Ralph represents democracy and order, while Jack symbolizes tyranny and dictatorship. The struggle between these two characters can be seen as a metaphor for the larger struggle between good and evil in the world. The book is also considered a meditation on the effects of power on the human psyche. As the boys are forced to live in a world without adult supervision or authority, they quickly become consumed by the desire for power and control. This desire leads them to engage in violent and destructive behavior, as they seek to exert their dominance over each other. The story shows how easily people can become corrupted by power and how quickly a seemingly civilized society can devolve into chaos and violence. Another key theme of the book is the loss of innocence and the progression from childhood to adulthood. The boys start out as innocent and carefree, but as they are forced to fend for themselves, they must confront the harsh realities of life and their own inner demons. This process of growing up is depicted in a brutal and uncompromising manner, as the boys struggle to come to terms with their newfound power and the consequences of their actions. The setting of the book, a deserted island, serves as a microcosm for the larger world, highlighting the ways in which individuals and societies can be isolated and removed from the structures and constraints that usually govern human behavior. The boys' experiences on the island can be seen as a test of their humanity, as they must navigate their own instincts and desires in order to survive. Overall, Lord of the Flies is a complex and powerful novel that provides a disturbing look at the darker aspects of human nature. Through its portrayal of the decline of civilization on a deserted island, the book raises important questions about the nature of power, the loss of innocence, and the innate human capacity for violence and destruction. Despite its disturbing themes, the book continues to be widely read and discussed, and remains a classic of modern literature. Thanks for watching. To read the full version of the book, click on the link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for similar content.